Let's use right triangle trig to find a side of a right triangle. So we're going to review the 3 right triangle trig ratios and then use those ratios to find the missing side. Let's get ready. You're going to need notes, pencil, and a calculator. So when we review our 3 trig ratios, we have sine, cosine, and tangent, and we also have SOHCAHTOA. So sine tells us opposite over hypotenuse. So if I go to my angle A, opposite over hypotenuse, that would be sine. For cosine, adjacent. Adjacent means right next to, so it's right next to angle A over hypotenuse. And then tangent does not use hypotenuse, it's opposite over adjacent. So in this triangle, I have a 3, 4, 5 triangle. And if I'm trying to find the sine of A, I want to do the opposite, which is 4, over my hypotenuse, which is 5. So the sine of A is 4 over 5. Cosine is adjacent, so I'm looking at the 3 over my hypotenuse, 5. And then tangent, again, it doesn't use the hypotenuse, so this is opposite, which is 4, over adjacent, which is 3. Those are our ratios for that triangle. So we're going to use it to find a missing side. From your angle, determine which parts you have. Do you have opposite and hypotenuse? Do you have opposite and adjacent? Do you have adjacent and hypotenuse? Figure out which sine ratio you're using. So you can look here to figure out if you're using sine or cosine or tangent. Then you're going to set up the proportion and solve, and I will ask you to round to 2 decimal places. So in this example, I'm looking at angle A and I see that it's 32. I go opposite, and that's what I'm trying to find is x, and I have my hypotenuse. So we're looking for the trig ratio that deals with opposite and hypotenuse, and that's going to be sine. So I'm going to set it up as the sine of 32. Because I know my angle, A is 32, equals x over my hypotenuse, which is 15. So now we're going to try to solve this equation. And I want to get to the x. Right now it's being divided by 15, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 15. So I have x equals, and I want you to get in the habit of putting the 15 in front of the sign so it doesn't get into the sign. So we're going to say 15 times the sine of 32. You can find the sine button on your calculator and then do 15 multiplied by sine. You'll have to put parentheses there of 32, and you should get 7.95. Just make sure it makes sense. My hypotenuse is 15, so I know both sides have to be less than 15, and that one is. Let's look at this example. So I have angle R, that's where I'm going to go, and I'm looking at opposite, and I have my hypotenuse, so we're doing the sine relationship again. So I'm going to say the sine of 28 equals opposite, which is x, over 46. Multiply both sides by 46, and I get x to be 46 sine of 28. Do that on your calculator, and you get about 21.60, which is less than 46, so I'm good. In this example, I just turned the triangle a little bit, but again, orientate yourself with the angle that you have. I also put all 3 sides on there, so you have to figure out what you're working with. I'm going to use sine. I'm going to go with opposite and hypotenuse. I could do something with the 19.5 and choose a different ratio, but I'm going to stick with sine. So I'm going to do the sine of 40 equals x over 25. Multiply both sides by 25. And on the calculator, we're doing 25 sine 40. And you should get 16.07. Let's look at this one. So here we have angle P, which is 62. So opposite is 18, and then my hypotenuse. So we're going to say sine of 62 equals 18 over x. Notice this time that x is in my denominator. So I still want to undo it. It's being divided by x, so I'm going to multiply both sides by x. So I get x times sine of 62 equals 18. I want to still get to this x, so I have to divide everything by sine 62. So now I have x equals 18 divided by sine 62. Do that on your calculator, and you should get 20.39. Let's look at this example. We have angle A as 43. I don't have opposite anymore, but I do have adjacent and I have my hypotenuse. So we're looking at the cosine ratio here. So I'm going to say the cosine of 43 equals x over 20. I want to get to x. I'm dividing by 20, so I'm going to multiply everything by 20. So I have x equals 20 cosine of 43. Do that on your calculator. You'll find the cosine button right next to the sine. And we get 14.63. By the way, if you are not getting these answers, you may have to go to mode on the calculator and then change it to degrees. We want these all to be in degrees, not radians. So let's find our angle. Here we are. And I have my adjacent and my hypotenuse. So we're looking at the cosine ratio again. So the cosine of 27 is x over 65. Multiply everything by 65. X equals 65 cosine of 27. And we get an answer of 57.92. Seems a little big, but my hypotenuse is 65, so I should be okay. Here we have angle S measuring 52. I have my adjacent and my hypotenuse. So I'm going to do cosine. So the cosine of 52 is 38 divided by x. Here x is in my denominator. I'm going to multiply both sides by x. And then I need to divide by cosine of 52. So I get x to be 38 over the cosine of 52. On your calculator, that should give you 61.72. My angle A is 42. When I go opposite, that's what we're looking for, so that's opposite. Then we have right next to us, that's our adjacent, so we're switching over to the tangent ratio. So I'm going to say the tan of 42 equals x over 26. I'm going to multiply both sides by 26, and x equals 26 tangent of 42. Find the tangent button on your calculator, and x equals 23.41. And one more problem. We find our angle L. I'm going to go opposite and adjacent, so we're doing tangent. So the tangent of 28 equals 56 over x. X is in my denominator, so I'm going to multiply everything by x. So x times the tangent of 28 equals 56. Divide everything by the tangent of 28, and x equals 56 over tan 28. On your calculator, you would get 105.32. So, always go to your angle first and then see what two pieces you're dealing with. And if you have 3 pieces, you'll be able to choose. But in this case, we have 2, which is my opposite and my hypotenuse. So I would choose the sine ratio. Set up your proportion, solve, and then for the sides, we're going to round to 2 decimals. Nice job.